Imagine a scenario where the fate of dozens of lives hangs precariously in the balance, with every negotiation move carrying unimaginable weight. This is precisely the situation unfolding as Israel and Hamas engage in delicate discussions over hostages held in Gaza, a high-stakes game that could redefine the region's future. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has signaled a significant shift in strategy. Instead of pursuing incremental releases, Israel now seeks a sweeping deal to free all remaining hostages at once. But here's where it gets controversial. Can such an ambitious plan actually work, or is it setting both sides up for deeper conflict? Previously, the focus had been on a phased approach, involving a temporary 60-day ceasefire, coupled with the partial release of living hostages. However, this method appears to be off the table for now, according to Netanyahu himself. In a recent interview with I-24 News, he bluntly stated, "We tried, we made all kinds of attempts, but it turned out they were just misleading us." His tone suggests frustration and impatience, reflecting growing domestic pressure to secure the safe return of the captives while grappling with criticism over his administration's handling of the crisis. The core issue remains clear. Hamas still holds 50 hostages, taken during its devastating attack on October 7, 2023, an assault that left approximately 1,200 people dead in Israel and triggered the current war. Of those hostages, Israel estimates around 20 are still alive. Meanwhile, Palestinian groups continue to demand a comprehensive prisoner swap, insisting on the release of Palestinians held in Israeli jails alongside calls for a complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. They also refuse to disarm unless an independent Palestinian state emerges, a condition Israel categorically rejects. Adding layers of complexity, regional mediators like Egypt and Qatar have reportedly proposed a new framework. This initiative aims to achieve the simultaneous liberation of all hostages in exchange for ending hostilities and withdrawing Israeli troops. Yet, skepticism abounds. Why? Because Israel insists that Hamas must relinquish control of Gaza and surrender its weapons, a demand that seems nearly impossible within the short time frame being discussed. Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati recently highlighted these challenges during a news conference. He emphasized Cairo's ongoing efforts, alongside Qatar and the United States, to revive the earlier phased proposal, a 60-day truce accompanied by limited hostage releases, some freedom for Palestinian prisoners, and unimpeded humanitarian aid access to Gaza. The question looms large. Will either side budge enough to make meaningful progress? In the midst of these diplomatic maneuvers, violence continues unabated. Intense Israeli airstrikes have wreaked havoc across Gaza, particularly targeting Gaza City. Recent reports reveal harrowing scenes of destruction, including large explosions in the Zaytun neighborhood. Tragically, civilians bear the brunt of the fighting. For instance, Al-Shifa Hospital confirmed that 7 members of a single family, including 5 children, were killed when tents were struck in Tel Al-Hawa. Similarly, Al-Ahli Hospital reported 10 fatalities following an airstrike on a home in Zaytun. These grim developments underscore the human cost of the conflict. Since the war began, the Hamas-run health ministry claims that at least 61,722 Palestinians have died, with hundreds more succumbing to starvation and malnutrition due to Israel's severe restrictions on aid entering Gaza. Experts warn of an impending famine, painting a dire picture of suffering and deprivation. Netanyahu maintains that Israel's objectives remain unchanged. The war will end only when all hostages are freed and Hamas surrenders. He even floated the contentious idea that Palestinians should consider voluntary emigration, suggesting other nations should open their gates rather than criticize Israel's actions. While framed as a solution, this suggestion raises alarm bells among human rights advocates and the international community, who view forced displacement as a violation of international law. For many Palestinians, the notion of leaving Gaza evokes painful memories of the Nakba catastrophe in 1948, when hundreds of thousands fled or were expelled from their homes during Israel's creation. Today, most Gazans are descendants of those original refugees, holding official refugee status themselves. The prospect of another mass exodus feels eerily familiar and deeply unsettling. So, what happens next? Can negotiators bridge the chasm between Israel's demands and Hamas's conditions? Or will escalating tensions push the region closer to catastrophe? These questions linger, inviting heated debate. Do you believe a compromise is possible? Or does the situation seem irreparably fractured? Share your thoughts below. We'd love to hear your perspective.